What's up, everybody? This is Brian Smith. Today, we're going to do a little backdrop on the greater Mobile, Alabama area, class of 2025. Talk a little bit about why this area produces so many players and actually dive into some of that data, which I'm going to do here in just a moment. But overall, this is about making sure that enough players that honestly deserve it are being recruited. Again, Mobile, Alabama, it's on the coast. It's right off I-10, and part of that area is just unbelievable for football talent. Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, LSU. There's a lot of programs that recruit it, but there are players that go unrecruited, even by some of the smaller schools that are FCS, the low Division One, that should come down there. Alabama's not going to recruit a bunch of those kids. They're going for whatever the best player they can get anywhere. They don't have any loyalty to any area. That's just reality. Why don't more people recruit Mobile? There's an airport there. It's proven that it's got tons of talent. I've got some stats again that I'll show just a moment. And quite frankly, it's pretty easy to get to by car, plane, whatever. So with that, here's a couple of stats I want to start out with on my list. Number one, per capita, the state of Alabama overall was fourth in 2022 for the opening day rosters of putting players in the NFL. And it was seventh overall in just total number of players. So that's really good. Mobile, in general, has always had a lot of guys. Leon Lett is from that area. This is an example of the former famous Dallas Cowboy. There are tons. Now, what does that mean in terms of today? Well, I wrote down some kids from the class of 2020 and 2021, where they signed, their high schools, etc. And then we'll just kind of move into some film. I'm going to show that at the end here, but please make note in the description while I'm thinking of it. I got it scrolling across the bottom here. Got a bunch of Twitter handles for some of the kids in the class of 25. Some are already big name guys, the Georgias and the Alabamas are recruiting, and some not as much. I've done a little research and talked to some people that helped me with this, even talked to KJ Lacey, who's one of the kids I'm going to show his film. There are a ton of players in the Mobile area that deserve recognition. And if you're a college football coach, you should probably check it out. So let's start off with 20. We'll just go chronologically. Kennedy signed with Bama. He played at Theodore, which is southwest corner of Mobile, and running back, linebacker. Hasn't made a huge dent at Alabama yet, but it takes a little while. This is a long and lean kid. He was ranked by 247 and the 247 composite as a top player in the state of Alabama in the class of 2020. That's the norm. There are a ton of edge rushers and a ton of skill guys from the Mobile area. Corners, pass rushers, linebackers, big D linemen. It's really hard to understand why more people don't go down there. But anyway, here's the list beyond. And this is all over the place. But Sidney Williams, safety, signed with Florida State, ended up transferring to Missouri. R.J. Perry, defensive tackle, 300-pounder, signed with Tennessee's out of Fairfield Prep. Williams played at Viger. The next three kids, all at St. Paul's. This is a really good private program. Daniel Foster Allen, defensive lineman, signed with Auburn. Reggie Bracey, a safety, signed with Iowa. And Brady Ward, signed with Auburn. And then just one more, just as an example, Davidson High School, they sent a kid to Ole Miss, another defensive lineman, Cedric Johnson. This is an incredible group in just one's class that had Power 5 offers and could have went to a lot of players. And I didn't even mention everybody. There are certainly others. This is just a snippet of what's going on. So if you've got SEC, you've got Big Ten, you've got ACC, all recruiting there, you know there's some other players as well, those FCS schools, etc. And some of them I know do recruit it. But again, there probably should be more. Looking at 2021, this is talk about size. It's one of my most intriguing prospects for this next year. He's now at UCF, but Lee Hunter signed out of Blunt. He signed with Auburn. He was a top 5 player in the state, and he transferred after 1 year at Auburn, moved over to UCF, and he's been a key player for them. DeAndre Lawson, linebacker. He played at Christian in Mobile. He signed with Bama. Jordan Mosley, a wide receiver out of McGill-Tulane. He signed with Northwestern. That's the other thing. There's a lot of kids really well acclimated to the academic world. Northwestern, UCLA, Virginia, a lot of really good schools. And I'll get to another one here in a second that's really important. Christian Burkhalter, defensive lineman, Spanish Fort. He signed with UCLA. Speaking of the Bruins, here's the one that's most important because he's been so good right away. Riley Leonard played at Fairfield High School. It's on the east side of Mobile. He signed with Duke, and he's one of the best quarterbacks in college football. He's only going to be a junior. He's a kid a lot of people overlooked. Again, greater Mobile area. Edwin White, safety, right prep, signed with Kansas. Micah Gaffney, corner, Spanish Fort, Virginia. Ladarian Craig, he's a corner out of Baker High School, signed with South Carolina. So you get the picture that there's all kinds of talent there. So what's coming up with the next class? Well, let's do a little bit of that right now. KJ Lacey's the first one I'm going to present and show. KJ's a special talent in terms of his arm strength. He's committed to the Texas Longhorns. Hopefully, KJ gets everything that he needs to get going. Don't need that. Because he's got all the physical attributes you'd want in terms of just the arm strength and the power to throw the ball. And, of course, throwing it to Ryan kind of helps. I'll talk about Ryan here in a second. The mobility to move away from the defense is something I think a lot of teams were attracted to. He can run, don't get me wrong, but he can make some awkward throws like that and be off script and make huge plays. That right there is not something you're going to necessarily teach. Look at that sidearm throw. Really well done. He reminds me of some of the kids that have played at like Texas Tech and Mississippi State, etc. Bit of a gunslinger. And he finds a way to get it around defensive linemen no matter how close they are to him. Again, a nice sidearm throw. One more from KJ. And he does have the ability to loft one. That's a really nice pass. So if you think about quarterback play, Riley Leonard just came out of there. KJ's next up. He's committed to Texas, but there are other kids too. So keep that in mind. Next up, this is a player that won't surprise anybody that I'm going with. It's KJ's teammate, Alabama commitment, Ryan Williams. Ryan plays at Saraland just like KJ does. And he's a guy that can just score from anywhere. If you're going to play close to the line of scrimmage, you might want to get hands on him. I like how Ryan was able to play multiple positions in multiple spots, even as a receiver, and be dynamic. Again, he was state player of the year as a sophomore in Alabama. I don't think that's ever happened before. If it has, I'm unaware. But his ability to stop and start and to explode past people was absolutely incredible. Look at him eat up the cushion immediately. The explosiveness is just sickening. And the ability to cut when he's really running is the other thing. Ryan is tremendous in space. And why you would kick it to him, I'm not really sure. Little wildcat action. Doesn't matter that he doesn't have the angle. He still runs by everybody. I think we get the picture that Ryan Williams is a rather special player. So might even be the best player in the country in his class. You could make that argument. Here's somebody that is a little bit different. Antonio Coleman. Antonio is a defensive lineman that just plays with his hair on fire. Love his energy. Could play one tech, could play three tech, has the big body. And look at the explosiveness for a guy that big. 6'3", 6'4", 290, 300, somewhere in that range. And he's just super aggressive. Watch the first step, attack, shed, make the play. Nice job of using his hands to stay on his feet. Moves down the line laterally. That's a run stuff, my friends. Oh, look at the big guy. Getting a freebie. Getting into the end zone. Every big man's dream right there. Getting the fumble, getting a score. The pressure. Gets the pick. One more play here. Looking to beat two separate guys to get the sack. That's really good. I love his upside. Not enough people know about him yet, but they will. Next up. This is somebody that probably doesn't need a ton of, shall we say, help. But Dubose committed to Georgia, and he's going to probably be recruited all the way through. I'd imagine that Dubose will take visits. He was at the Future 50 down in Bradenton, and he's a sheer power guy. Viger's always got good players anyway, but Micah's frame and his build just screams offensive line. But he's got the feet to play like right there at the second level. That's what separates good players from just good ones. The ability to make plays in space at over 300 pounds. That's not very common for an offensive lineman that's this young. He's got 2 years of high school left. Look at that. One more play from the big fella. Right here. Look at him drive his feet after contact and dominate. Yeah, I don't think Micah needs much help with his recruitment. But again, that's the kind of competition these kids are going up against across the board. This one's rather interesting. Mr. Graham. Now, this is a kid that some people may not know much about, but he moved in from the state of Arizona, and he played at Chandler, which is a great program just outside of Phoenix. Good body control and a lot of power. Like these other kids, he's class of 25, and he has 2 years to play. Could end up being a 3 tech. The athleticism there is really impressive. Change in direction after contact. That was a pretty good block, but he stuck with it. Kept outside leverage, made it to the ball carrier. And if you don't block him, you're just going to smoke the guy. Well done. One more play here from the big fella. Again, I think he could end up at 3 tech. It depends. He's got 2 years of high school left, but look at him change direction. That's pretty good. So, again, plenty of opportunities for defensive players, edge guys, etc. One more player, Colin Wilson. Mobile Christian. That's not a program that many people will probably be surprised by if you're familiar with that area. There's a lot of talent there, but he's a kid that I'm pretty sure is going to end up being one of the better running backs in the state. He's moved over to Gulf Shores High. The speed is very obvious. I watched about 3 clips of him, and I knew I wanted to show his film. He could really run. Oh, that's nice. Spin, move, and accelerate. He fits the modern game very well. The spread makes it very difficult for teams to zero in on him. I have a feeling that he will be used as a slot receiver quite a bit at the next level too. Look at that cut. One more play from this young man. Watch the burst. Once he found the hole, he was shot out of a can. Really talented player. So, in case you were wondering, right up here, CFB Nation, this is the channel I'm going to be working on quite a bit. This is obviously my own channel, but CFB Nation, we're going to cover Southern recruiting a lot. And as I break into it, I'll be putting that up there a little bit. Hopefully, we get that channel rolling here pretty soon. Please like and subscribe to it as well. Hit the notification bell and like and subscribe here too. Going to be doing quite a few breakdowns. And again, in the description, there's a bunch of Twitter handles. Some of the players in the area, I'm not going to cover everybody with their film, but make sure you check these kids out. There's a lot of talent in the Mobile area. Gulf Shores, Mobile Christian, Saraland, Daphne. It's just unbelievable how many good players there are in Mobile. So with that, everybody have a great day and take care.